I would go like with a, "Hey guys." That might be the start of it too. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Evan, my roommate and very, very good friend. A lot of people have asked what our filmmaking process is, so I wanted to make a 4-part series with writing, pre-production, production, and post-production. Evan is my writing partner for all of this, so sorry. Actually, none of that is usable. Oh god. So I started out very similarly to a lot of like film people, where it was just like not a lot of people around me did a lot of film stuff, or they saw that it was like, oh, you know, you've got your phone out, you're making a Vine, trying to make like a TikTok or something. But then there was this class at school, which was like a media class, and so I signed up for that with some friends, and we made this like shitty slasher film where I was this nerd who did not get invited to a big party, so I killed everyone. It was probably the worst performance I ever gave in my life. There's one scene in the movie where I'm like so angry and scary, and I'm choking out one of my friends at the time. I'm like holding him up against the tree and like squeezing the life out of him, and it cuts back to me, and I'm just staring at him. And that's when you wanted to be a filmmaker. And that's when I wanted to be a filmmaker. Squeezing the life force out of him. What made you decide to go to film school? People would just like, oh, you're gonna make movies one day. You can write. That's so cool. Why don't you do this? And then at the time I was like, well, I gotta do that. And I really liked to do it. But then COVID happened. And you got to be on campus. Yeah. I was off campus, but you got trapped in your dorm. I was in my dorm for like 6 months. Yeah. Just a hermit. No contact with anyone. I was in the intro to film class. You know, I'm scrubbing through like the coursework, and the professor is like, here's a really good example of past students' work, and he sends a link to your channel. I was just like scrubbing through the videos, and I was like, this asshole. This guy fucking sucks. And then I just like forgot. It was like the next year, so I put in for like a room request change, and they were like, we don't normally do this, but there's an empty room, it's like right above you, go check it out. And so I show up and I'm like, hi, hey. And like baby Moses, he arrived on our doorstep. Yeah. The first thing that we worked on was give us some time to get used to each other. It was last winter break, and I called Evan Manic. And you're like, I've got this great idea. Can you dress up as a girl? Within 2 nights, I like chicken scratched wrote something together. Evan acted as 2 sides to a relationship, the guy and the girl. We had our 2 other roommates play another couple. I don't know how to describe it. It was like run and gun. We had all these scenes that we like had put out into like the schedule, and we were like, okay, we can't do this tonight because the neighbors are having a drag show at 4 a.m. So let's actually take all 13 of these scenes, and put them tomorrow. It was like 20-hour long days. Like, it was horrible. No, it wasn't professional level at all. Yeah. We were not being paid, but everyone was in on it because they believed in the script. Right. I think. And like, if it was in a professional world, you would have had to pay us, obviously. You would have feed us, obviously. Yeah. But it's like, this is something different. This is just some friends getting together. Yeah. To make something. It cost us $15 to make the movie, and that was only $15 because we had to buy like cardboard boxes that we didn't already have. And it's in so many festivals right now, and it's got an audience and stuff. It's really, really special. Yeah. After that happened, we were like, okay, what's the next thing? And it took us a whole year of just like, I've got this idea. Yeah. We would run with it for like a month. Building on, give us some time to get used to each other. Yeah. Like, let's actually like tell the whole story of a relationship from start to end. And it'll be weird time synced. Yeah, it was like starting at the breakup and working back to why they got together in the first place. I would just like write a thing, and he would write a thing, and then it was like, hey, check this out. But nothing was very like cohesive or sticking together. Yeah. There was no through line with like characters or anything. It was just like, this happened. It was spring quarter. I was listening to this song, Come Sail Away, and I texted Evan, and I was like, Evan, I want to make an epic. I want to make like a Lord of the Rings, Star Wars scope movie. Like, how the fuck are we gonna do that? I was like, I don't know. but we'll figure it out.
And that became the mantra.
That became the mantra
to
of
everything.
Within that week, him and I stayed up. We made a Google Docs of like, I really, really want a scene where they're on a sailboat. I really want a scene where a character realizes something. I really want a scene
Or they drive on a motorcycle through Roku City.
and we really wanted it to be homemade, feeling like the old Star Wars movies. So we're like, we want everything to be made out of cardboard or some kind of practical effect because it looks so cool.
Yeah.
And so we made this giant Google Doc of just like stuff that we just wanted to happen.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, with this, how do we make a story? For the longest time, it was a story about a man going on a quest to find his evil wizard dad.
It was great.
Yeah, we were like, we'll follow the hero's journey.
Yeah.
We'll do all this stuff. It'll be like epic and ginormous. And then we're like, actually, this is a really stupid. I feel like that happens a lot where we have a lot of ideas that we'll just run with and then immediately
It's
be like, okay, this sucks.
And you drop
Back
it.
to the drawing board.
Yeah.
So then we finally got an idea that we deemed good enough, which is
this guy just lost his dad, and he's feeling very existential about his place in the world, and so
he's going about life like the safest way possible.
Yeah.
So that he doesn't die as well. The irony is, one night while getting a midnight stack, he sticks a fork in a toaster and immediately dies.
he was always gonna die.
He was always gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's transported to this in between life and death called Cardboard Island, where everything's made out of practical effects. It's this beautiful beachy island where he kind of learns about his purpose, his life, how to take things simple, how to find happiness in the simple life that he already had. The B plot is this version of the lead hero. There's an alternate version of
Tough
him.
Rambo version of him. He's
Yeah.
crawling through the Vietnamese jungle,
Yeah.
fighting a war
Yeah.
with no end.
And I think once we figured that out, we were like, okay, now we have a story. Now we have something that can get us to the next scene. There's this rubric called Save the Cat.
That we followed
To a T.
mercilessly to
Yeah.
the T. Sometimes you get tired of Save the Cat, but it works.
Yeah.
It like
It definitely keeps you in check. We had a Google Doc of all the Save the Cat beats, and we were like, so we know that we want the ending to be right here, and we know that we want the ending to be this beautiful, bittersweet farewell to these characters that we've grown to love, but we need to know why we care about the characters. And so within Save the Cat, we'd be like, okay, well, we need to know that these characters did this and this and that
Yeah.
to get to the point
and
that
this is where you state the theme. This is where this is what he believes now, and what is going to be counteracted.
It was super simple when you thought of it as a puzzle that needed to happen, and you're like, okay, I know that I really, really want the beginning to be this ambiguous opening. It's very eerie, but I also want to have in a bunch of like wild, outrageous, fun, colorful scenes. How do I get there from there to there?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the Save the Cat thing. I know that I need to get there and there and there. I had written, I think, like a 200-page script.
Yeah.
I was like, Evan, can you read this over? And you're like, okay, the first 5 pages are awesome. They're flawless. I don't know what you're trying to do with the next stuff. So what we did was every night for like 2 weeks, we would make coffee after our 7 p.m. class and dedicate this entire wall to just sticky notes of, okay, this is scene 1. We need to put this here, but how do we rearrange all this stuff to follow it to a better beat of the story?
And I feel like meanwhile we had a notebook on the side which was like, what is this scene about?
Every single scene
Had a purpose.
had a purpose.
Yeah.
And that made it so tight because it was like, you can't cut out this scene now because this scene gives to this other scene. And we also had a rule that was like, no scene can be over 4 pages just because we want to keep the really fast-paced feeling.
Deserved it, I feel like.
We set ground rules for ourselves, and that really, really helped. Another thing that really helped was we knew that we were going to produce this movie, and we knew that we had to film it.
I would ask, like, how the hell are we gonna do that?
Yeah.
How are we gonna make it seem like we're jumping out of a helicopter? And you would just say, we'll worry about it later, just write
Yeah,
it.
there's one scene, everything in the house starts to slowly levitate off the ground. And I think that was the biggest scene that was like, how are we going to do this in real time? We know that we want to make it practical effects because none of us know how to do visual effects. How are we going to do this? And I was like, Evan, I have no idea. But we should not write around what we don't know. We should write to serve the purpose of the story.
Yeah.
And we made it work. We got a $40 Walmart tent. We got a bunch of fish wire. Yeah, we somehow figured out like geometry and physics, and like I remember the day on set that it happened. It took us like 5 hours to set it all up,
Yeah.
and then it happened, and it was like it literally gave me chills because I was like, oh my god, it's actually
working.
happening.
Yeah.
It's working. There are a bunch of scenes that take place in a tent. The tent is supposed to feel like a Harry Potter type tent.
It's small on the outside, but you go
Yeah.
in and then you're in a full-size room.
Yeah, and we were like, how the hell are we gonna pull this out? Oh, we'll just make a giant tent in our living room. I remember for 40 hours straight, all that we could see was orange.
Avery, he's one of our roommates. He would come to the top of the stairs. He would look down into the living room, and everything would just be orange. And he would think like everything was on fire downstairs because it was just glowing orange.
Yeah, we have such a group of supportive
yeah.
people. We're very, very lucky.
I think if you can find those people,
Mm-hmm.
you've got something really special.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
Because you can't do anything all by yourself.
Right.
It takes other people's opinions or knowledge to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like neither one of us could have written Cardboard Island alone.
Yeah, it's so nice getting real criticism instead of just
Yeah.
like, your thing rules.
No.
Carry
so many
on.
classes I've been in.
Yeah.
just been- you show your stuff and it's like, oh, does anybody have anything to say? Good job, buddy.
Good job, buddy. If you can find anyone to read your scripts, even your mom, even your dad, even, your
Yeah.
anyone to
As
read
long
your
as they're
scripts.
giving you valuable feedback.
Yeah. Or just someone to, lay on
what they think.
Yeah.
I gave you a script that I had written.
Mm-hmm.
And so I give it to you and you're like, there's like 2 different movies going on.
Yeah.
There's the wild and everything that is probably
Mhm.
hard to produce. And then
Yeah.
it's like, this half is Cardboard Island and this half is give us some time to get used to each
Yeah.
other. Pick one and do what you want.
There were a lot of comments saying, like, I've got this idea for a feature film,
Yeah.
but I have way too many ideas on what I want to do.
I guess you just pick with what sticks, what the theme is.
I think that's what it goes down
Yeah.
to, is the theme and what kind of movie you want to tell. Like, with Give Us Some Time to Get Used to Each Other, we knew that we wanted to tell a really grounded,
Yeah.
personal story about just conversations and people learning to understand each other.
Yeah. We knew that it was going to be miserable.
We knew that it was going to be a slow, miserable movie, but that's what we really wanted to tell. I know really early on, like, I wanted to have like a dream sequence,
Yeah.
and we were really on board with it, but then while writing it, we were like, this kind of steps out of the,
Yeah.
I would say 99% of the Google Doc that we wrote down for Cardboard Island did not make it, but I'm so proud
Yeah.
of what did make it and what new ideas we gained from other stuff. Anything else? How do we end this thing?
I don't know.
Ah.
So what's the moral?
So what's the moral of the moral of the story is